Yes, folks, Vladimir Putin believes liberalism has become obsolete. So let's see what he said. But first, I would like to thank Helen Jeffrey for pointing me towards this story. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he believes liberalism has outlived its purpose and become obsolete. I agree with that. Speaking to the Financial Times at the Kremlin ahead of the Group of 20 summit in Osaka, Japan, Putin condemned open-door policies towards migrants and said liberalism has gone too far at the expense of traditional values. I agree with that. When the migration problem came to a head, many people admitted that the policy of multiculturalism is not effective and that the interests of the core population should be considered. Yes, and he's 100% correct there. Multiculturalism is dangerous. And the main reason it fails is simply because it does not require assimilation. And without assimilation, nations get divided into tribes. He described German Chancellor Angela Merkel's welcoming policy towards refugees from the Middle East in 2015 as a cardinal mistake. Again, he's 100% correct. And praised US President Donald Trump, whom he described as a talented person for taking a much harder line on migration. Again, he's right. But I'll just skip down to the next interesting bit. The liberal idea presupposes that nothing needs to be done. The migrants can kill, plunder and rape with impunity because their rights as migrants must be protected, Putin said. The liberal idea has become obsolete. Again, I can't argue with that. Now let's look at an example of the liberal insanity Putin is talking about.
A very spirited debate on this stage last night on the topic of decriminalization of the border. If you'd be so kind, raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we could see them?
Let's remember, that's not just...
Yes. All of these candidates, most of these candidates, support the decriminalisation of illegal border crossings.
A theoretical exercise. That criminalization, that is the basis for family separation. You do away with that, it's no longer possible. Of course, it wouldn't be possible anyway in my presidency because it is dead wrong. We got to talk.
Oh, it's dead wrong to punish people for crimes. So why do we need passports and visas anymore? So we don't need them anymore. Yes, folks, you can simply fly into America without any documentation now. Now for a bit more insanity.
Elite Democrats have permanently broken with reality. They no longer care about what's true, what's possible, even what's real. They live in a kind of dream state, a place of fantasy punctuated by howls of self-righteousness. Watch as Julian Castro, and keep in mind, he was an actual cabinet secretary in the Obama administration. That was only a couple of years ago. Watch as Julian Castro explains that men who get pregnant have a moral right to taxpayer-funded abortions. Not joking. Watch this.
I don't believe only in reproductive freedom. I believe in reproductive justice. And, what that means is that just because a woman, or let's also not forget someone in the trans community, a trans female, is poor, doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to exercise that right to choose.
Oh my God, men can have babies. Now I wonder where Putin gets his ideas from. Now let's listen to how James Rubin tries to defend liberalism.
Putin says major global shifts are underway. The liberal idea has become obsolete, he told the Financial Times. It has come into conflict with the interests of the overwhelming majority of the population. Jamie Rubin is here. He's a former Assistant Secretary of State for the United States. He joins us live now. Jamie, thank you so much for being with us. So is populism having its moment to shine? Is Vladimir Putin right on that front?
Well, I think objectively it is certainly true that populist leaders are autocrats.
Populist leaders are autocrats. So he's saying Farage and Trump are autocrats. Is he saying that the populist leaders of France, Germany and Italy are autocrats? Really?
In places like Brazil, like Hungary, to some extent the Polish government is.
But we're not talking about those areas.
These places are not pursuing the ultimate liberal ideal of the rule of law.
The liberal ideal of the rule of law. Yes, folks, the liberals really understand the law and abiding by the law when it comes to borders.
And democratic values. Philippines is another.
And democratic values. Like democratic values like silencing speech. Yes, folks, liberalism is dead. Putin is right. The liberal idea is now obsolete. It is now very far removed from what the average person wants.